G'day guys, Wereman here. Welcome back to the workshop. We are doing some more expanding rules things because we can, and we're here with Adam. Say g'day, buddy.
Hello everybody. So it's nice that Taran does all this research and looks into this game. So he's coming up with some doozies.
I just like weird crap. I think it's been pointed out in the comments, actually. Somebody mentioned that I just keep taking weird stuff. But I like all the little iffy bits that you can get in games that make it, you're not necessarily going to win, but they make it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
To that end, when we did our prison scenario, we were talking about ECMs, and you had to have an ECM in order to be able to find the guy, or a beagle probe in order to find the guy in the prison, remember?
Yeah.
And I was talking about switching an ECM to ECCM so I'd be able to block you. You guys picked a force for me that didn't have ECMs. That's fine. I'm cool with it. I'm not salty. I won, so I'm fine with it. It's cool.
Funny you've said that a few times. there might be a little bit of salt, a bit of... Yeah,
I like salt. Salt's fine. But something I failed to mention at that point was that technically using an ECM as an ECCM isn't standard rules. It's actually an optional rule. You have to go to TACOps to do it.
Yeah.
In standard rules, you can only use it as an ECM, and that's all it does. That it just blocks electronics of enemy units, so narc beacons, certain types of missiles and other ammos, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not anything super duper like fantastic, but it's very, very useful in the right circumstances.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely something you want to have in your force if you have that technology level.
Yeah. So on page 100 and 101, and technically over to 102 as well in TACOps, you've got a couple of different things that you can do with your ECM suites. So there is ECCM. ECCM is actually pretty easy to understand. All you do is you have to put your ECM into ECCM mode, either at the start of the game or in the end phase, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. You announce the switch in the end phase of any turn. So while ECCM is active, you cancel out hostile ECMs one for one. Okay, so your ECCM will cancel out the effects of somebody else's ECM. So let's say you've got a dude with ECCM and they've got a guy with ECM, and there's somebody narked in their bubble. If you can move your ECCM bubble over the top of him, that narc starts pinging again, and you can hit him with the missiles.
Yes.
Okay.
This is all done with the Guardian system that we're talking about here.
Yeah, the Angel ones are slightly different, and I'm not 100% sure on them. So we'll maybe cover Angel ECMs as a separate thing at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's best.
Oh no, wait, here it is. There you go.
Oh, if you've got it in front of you.
It's right there. So the Angel ECM suite counts as 2 ECM or 2 ECCM suites, or the player can choose to run the Angel at 1 and 1.
Wow.
So technically it counts as 2 of them. So if you're cancelling out 1 for 1 and you've got an ECM and an Angel ECM, then as long as you've got 2 ECMs running with the Angel, it'll keep that enemy ECCM from cancelling them both out.
And that's a great tech right there.
It's important and interesting to know that you can set your INARC ECM pods, which we talked about at one point before, to be ECCM.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you're allowed to declare that every time you fire a pod. So if you take a ton of ECM pods for your INARC, you can technically fire it off, and as you fire it off, you designate whether it's an ECM or an ECCM. And like I say, each friendly ECCM cancels out 1 enemy ECM. So you can chuck them out at someone that's been narked with a different pod or something like that, or that's being targeted by some sort of electronic thing that you can't shut down, or that has C3 and is being protected by ECM, something like that.
Yeah.
You can pop one of these out, go, I'm going to make that an ECCM, blam, and it'll cancel out the enemy's one.
Oh,
so
useful.
Yeah. And you can do that for each pod in that ton. I think you get like 6 pods per ton or something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
5 or 6. Yeah, yes.
It makes those INARCs actually really solidly useful. The only reason I don't usually use them is because you can wipe them off. If you hit people in the wrong spot, they can get rid of them. You can use communications equipment to generate an ECCM field as well. So any unit that mounts 3 to 6 tons of communications equipment equals half an ECM suite when generating an ECCM field.
Oh, okay.
7 or more, it equals 1. So I don't think there's many like mechs that you have that size of communications. I think a Battlemaster has like 3 or 4 tons, something like that, if I remember correctly. Or a Cyclops. There's one of those like command mechs.
Yeah, the Cyclops had a special,
a really big communications package.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. There was something about them taking the heads off and putting them down or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I think maybe you could do that with that one, but yeah. With stealth armor, because if you remember correctly from our stealth armor video, which you've all watched, obviously, you have to have an ECM active to run your stealth armor.
Yes, that's right.
So one ECM field is always active and considered hostile to all parties, though it only directly affects the unit with the stealth armor. If the unit mounts an Angel ECM suite, it may be used to power both the stealth armor and produce an ECCM field. However, this will result in just the ECCM field being active, with all effects from the stealth armor lost, except the 10 heat generated. So, yeah. If another unit's ECCM field, friendly or enemy, affects a hex containing a mech with active stealth armor, then the stealth bonus is lost.
Whoa.
But the heat is still generated. So again, INARC pod, stealth armor dude, get up nice and close, pop.
Yeah.
And he's still generating heat, but he can't actually use the benefit of the stealth armor. So he doesn't get the modifiers to being hit. And you can start pouring fire on him.
So basically, he's just going to switch that off and try something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the ECCM.
Yeah.
ECCM.
Yeah, ECCM.
It's and there is an infantry based ECM as well. So you can have your little infantry dudes around, but I'm pretty sure they only affect the hex that they're on.
Yeah, but that's for them. That's all they need.
Yeah, that's all they really need. The other thing you can do, which I find really, really cool, and I was always wondering about back in the day when I used to play BattleTech, is ghost targets. Have you played a game with ghost targets before?
Yes, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
So you can use your ECM suite. Instead of using it as an ECM or an ECCM, you can use it to generate ghost targeting information in somebody else's targeting computers. So you can make it scramble things. You can make it have like weird heat signatures and things pop up all over the place, and then they're all going, "Oh, what's that? Oh, they're coming out the walls." You can actually have ghost targeting information on their screens.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it loses all other functions. You can only generate ghost targets with it. So this is another one that you switch in the end phase. So the end phase is very important, but when you're using an ECM and you want to do weird things with it, it's super important. You need to remember to switch between modes.
I'm going to have 2 of them on my map. So they both do their job separately. Or if you're running with your lance mates, obviously they've got theirs, so they can screen you. Being serious now, they can screen you while you're doing your thing. So that's all covered.
And the
radar covers.
You can have someone with the ECM that's generating ghost targets, and then you can have an Angel suite that does ECM and ECCM and blah blah, etc. You can do all sorts of cool electronic stuff. But what you're basically doing is you're using that every weapon attack phase, when you've got it set to generating ghost targets, that you make a piloting skill check with a +2 modifier. No other modifiers, just a +2. So your piloting skill, +2, you roll that. If it fails, you didn't do it right and you get no effect, right? If you pass, you make a note of your margin of success.
Okay.
All right. So if you've got a piloting skill for an average pilot is 5, you add 2 to that is 7. If you roll, say, a 10, you've passed and you pass by 3. So you write down MOS 3.
MOS 3, yeah.
Right? During a turn's weapon attack phase, if a weapon attack passes through the ECM bubble of an enemy ECM tuned to generating ghost targets, and the controlling player made a successful skill roll, right? So you made your skill roll, you got your +3, done. Somebody tries to shoot at you or in any way through your bubble. They have to make a piloting skill roll before making the 2 hit roll. The only modifier added to the piloting skill roll is the MOS of the enemy's ECM. So they have to make one with your +3.
Okay,
right.
So the technology, the two enemy technologies are battling against one another and generating more interference than the other. So the more interference they have, it's harder for the opponent to hit you.
I've got at least one ECM, I'm pretty sure, that I've played in one of our games at some point with a 0 pilot in it. I'm fairly certain I would have done that at some point. Right, so I've done that. That means I have to roll a 2. I roll my thing and I get a 12. Right, I've beaten that by 10. So if you want to shoot through that ECM bubble at me or at somebody on the other side or whatever, you have to make a piloting skill check with a +10 in order to be able to do it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So if you succeed, the 2 hit roll is made as normal. If the attacking... so you're able to differentiate. Your targeting and tracking system is able to go, no, that's all fake. That's all ghost signals. Don't worry about it. There's your target, sort of thing, right?
Right.
So if you make it, you're fine. You make your attack roll as normal. If the roll fails, for every 2 margin of failure round down, you get a +1 to hit on all weapon attacks that pass through the ECM bubble for that turn.
Wow.
By that attacker. So you've got, I don't know, an awesome on the other side of your bubble, and you've beaten it by 3. He makes his piloting skill check. He's got to get an 8 because he's got an average pilot 5. You've got a +3. So he has to make an 8 or better. He makes, say, a 4 and fails. Right? He now has a +4 to every shot through that bubble. All 3 of his PPCs are at +4 to hit. Plus his movement, plus your movement, plus all of the other stuff. But on top of everything, he's got another +4.
Wow.
It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I really like it. And I think if you guys are doing homebrew rules and doing weird stuff, mucking around with your margin of success and margin of failure, you can do some really cool things with it. If you think it through and have a look, we can, I don't know, maybe do something later on.
Cool, because look, there are a couple of mechs out there that have multiple there's a multiple guardians, I think.
Yeah, there's a few that have multiple ECMs.
I mean, these were like some custom ones or whatever, and I couldn't understand why they had them, but they're obviously playing like some of these rules, and just that's what they could come up with.
You can't stack these, right? So if you shoot through multiple ghost targeting systems, you just take the highest margin of success.
Oh, that's it.
Okay, so when you're using your angel, because it technically qualifies as 2 of them, you can ghost target with 1 and set the other one to ECM or ECCM.
Okay.
So, but you only ever apply 1 ghost target system to things. So if you've got a good solid pilot in one with multiple ECMs, it doesn't matter. Setting one of them to ghost targeting is, I think, a good idea.
That's really cool.
I think it's cool.
That is excellent, isn't it? Now, I mean, not like your command sort of stars and things like that will have that sort of technology.
They'll usually have ECM. A lot of scouting units, I find, have ECMs. Definitely. You got a Raven has ECM set up.
Oh, with that sort of thing, you'd have multiple Ravens. You'd love to have them.
And there's no reason why you can't have one set to ECM, one set to ECCM, and one set to Ghost, and just run them next to each other.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
it's expensive, but you could do it.
But you've got triple the lasers and triple the SRMs.
Technically, you can do this with communications equipment as well, but you have to have at least 7 tons of communication equipment.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're using it to generate something else, then you have to switch it in the end phase. So you can only really do that, right? You can only do one thing with most communications equipment. But I think the mobile HQ has like 10 tons or something, doesn't it?
It's got a fair amount, for that sort of thing. That's
so you could have that set up as a ghost target thing and put your LRM carriers in a circle around it. And I don't know.
Well, there's that mobile florist van that's been parked out the front for the past couple of days. I reckon that thing's got some good surveillance equipment in it right now.
Yeah.
Is that still out there?
G'day guys. Yeah. How you doing? For the record.
What a nice young man he's.
Hope you get the pizza later. So your stealth armor, you're also allowed to do that. If you've got stealth armor with an angel ECM instead of regular ECM, you can generate ghost targets. But the ghost ECM field is considered hostile to all units,
right,
including the stealth armor unit generating them.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to shoot out of your own bubble, you're having to face your own margin of success as a test.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. But
well,
with the stealth armor on still, so active stealth armor and an angel ECM, you can still generate ghost targets. So you can just run in there and start, or be between your guys and their guys and try and just generate a bit of a field where they can't get you.
I mean, if you've got a clear sort of, I can move here, hide, move here, hide, move here, hide.
If you've got definite cover along the way, then it would be a good one, So if you have ECCM, so just a standard ECM function cease when inside an enemy ECCM field. ECM cannot generate ghost targets if the amount of friendly ECCM in a hex is less than the enemy ECM in that hex. So that basically ECCM cancels out your ghost targeting 1-for-1 again. So if you're not covering your ghost targeting generator with a friendly ECM, then enemy ECCM will knock the ghost targeting out.
Correct. Which
is, again, a good one for your INARC pods.
Yes.
And if you've got someone that's constantly generating ghost targeting information, you just pop it with an INARC, say ECCM, bang, and it's got to figure that out before it can keep generating. So that's cool. Wow.
The Angel ECM is just so handy in this sort of situation. Well, in every situation.
Because you basically use it as 2 ECMs. It's great.
No, Draconis Combine, they got all the good stuff after the invasion. They were the first to get the inner sphere Omnimech sort of stuff up.
They were the first to get smashed too. You know that, right?
But that's
kind of why.
But the fact that they got all this cool stuff, including the Angel ECM and everything. Whoa.
That's it. Your active probes. We haven't really gone into active probes, but for a unit making an attack that also mounts an active probe, you get a +1 modifier to the die roll result when making the piloting skill to determine the 2-hit modifier as described. So if you've got, I'm sure that should be -1. So the active probe should help you for getting through that, but they're doing it the other way around. Targeting computers get you a +2 modifier to the die result when making the piloting skill roll to determine the 2-hit modifier as described above. Oh, okay. Multiple fields from a single unit. Any unit mounting any combination of ECM suite, communications equipment, and cockpit command console can potentially generate as many fields as it mounts appropriate equipment.
Wow.
Because the cockpit command console is I think it's an optional construction thing. Has a second pilot. So the cockpit command is like the dual
twin control.
Twin control thing.
So
you've got one.
You've got a commander / tactical.
Yes. So you can use that to generate ghost targets with the same area of effect as an Inner Sphere Guardian ECM suite. When that unit makes an attack through a ghost targeting field, apply a +3 modifier to the piloting skill roll. Yeah. Why are they adding +3? The attack passes through multiples. +4 modifier is the maximum that can be applied to the piloting skill through the use of ghost target ECMs. Yeah, so +4 2-hit modifier is the most you can get.
So if it's passing through multiple systems.
Yeah, if it passes through one, like I say, where you've rolled it with a 0 and you beat it by 12, like you beat it by 10, so you rolled a 12, then you can only apply +4. The most you can modify it by is +4.
4, okay. +4.
It's not good. I mean, that's long range.
Yeah. It's giving you a long range penalty without having any wording to say that it's range based.
Yeah.
So it's a penalty that you can't use some of those abilities from the cards and everything.
You know? Yeah, where it says, you can reduce...
or you swap, long range is short range for you and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty.
There's some good stuff there. I mean, I think I've mangled that a little bit, but if you've got TAC Ops, page 100, ECMs, there's some really, really cool stuff you can do there. I actually really like the ghost targeting thing. I mean, we were going to use ECCM if I'd had a Komodo. I would have had him set up with ECCM. There wasn't any point giving him an ECM, especially not after I found out you had 3 of them. So it was ECCM, and then I was going to try and keep you away, so you'd have to group up and find the dude. But I mean, even just switching to ghost targeting, that would have been pretty cool. ECM's what, 6 range,
something like that.
I think it was 6. So that gives you a 6 radius bubble around you, where if a shot passes through that, they have to add that margin of success to a piloting skill check.
Yeah,
and if they fail, then they get a plus for that. So
yeah, that would have been really good.
Yeah, 2-hit modifier. So that's what I did. Okay, so very, very quickly, I've got an ECM set that goes targeting. I roll a piloting skill check with a +2, and I beat it by a certain amount, say 4, right? I beat it by 4. That adds 4 to a piloting skill check for you to be able to shoot through that bubble, into or through.
To actually target through there.
To be able to target. So you add 4 to your piloting skill roll, and then every 2 you fail that by, rounded down, is a +1 2-hit modifier. The most you can apply as a 2-hit modifier is +4. So you'd have to fail that by 8 in order to get that +4. And that's where I messed up. Okay.
So good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, if I'm adding 10 to your thing, go back to that 0 one. If I had 10 to yours, you've got a 15 you have to beat. You can't beat that. You roll it like a 2, and you failed it easy by that. So yeah.
So you take Guardian ECMs out the wing, and you take C3 technology as well. And you just short range for you and long range for everybody else that's shooting at you, even if they're right next door.
That's it. But I mean,
boom.
Yeah, if you're doing a lot of funky stuff, if you want to get some electronica and different bits and pieces, weird stuff into the games, then ECM optional rules. Like I say, in Total War, you can only use it to block enemy electronics and to power a stealth armor system. That's basically all it does. But if you take these 2 options, then you've got some really cool things you can do, moving ECCM bubbles around and switching to ghost targeting and all that sort of stuff. I reckon they're cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a little gribbly, but we got there in the end.
You could always scale a scenario to be around this sort of secret moving around sort of thing, you know?
And I mean, you can always introduce new tech to your games, I mean, you might not want them to have ECMs to begin with. I know a lot of the guys are doing like beginner type scenarios, beginner type games.
Yeah.
So you might not have all of that stuff, but you could introduce something. So there's some like light mech out there that you're chasing down a pirate. You're chasing down like a pirate lance or something, and you're following this light mech and you can't seem to hit anything, and you don't know why. And the GM keeps saying, "Oh, you've got a +2 to that roll. You've got a +4 to that roll. You got a +5 to that roll." And they're going, "What?" And if you can bring that little mech down, you'll have a working ECM.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know. That's some stuff that you can muck around with anyway.
I mean, ECM, how it is as standard in Total Warfare, is very useful.
Very useful.
It's really, really good, you know, because it does affect a few other bits of technology, and it has a really good. I feel it has a really good purpose. I would try to take it as much as I could.
Yeah, and we've seen it shut down entire battle plans. If you don't know what your enemy is taking, and you turn up, and you're using some sort of electronic system like NARC and things like that, and your enemy comes in with ECMs just off the top of their head, you're stuffed. You've got to try and figure out how to get around that. So yeah, they're very, very useful. Just gives them 2 extra bits that you can do.
You can do even more with it. And why not?
Even more.
Yeah. I mean, once you've sort of played it enough, you'll go, oh, you know, second nature, that rule, this rule, it's done. Yep, boom.
Yeah.
And you might actually enjoy just sort of doing it that way. Look, unless your tournament scene is, you know, pretty good, and they usually play around clan invasion level technology.
Yeah. So the targeting computer and the active probe give you a plus to that roll. Right. So when you roll to see how much you fail by, you've got a plus to that roll, because you want your roll to be as high as possible. It's not a plus to the target number, it's a plus to the roll. So the Beagle probe and targeting computer. So the Beagle probe gives you a +1, and the targeting computer gives you a +2. So you fail you go to roll your piloting skill against my plus my margin of success. So my +3. You go to roll that. When you roll, if you've got a Beagle probe, you add +1 to the actual dice roll. And if you've got a targeting computer, you add +2. So you'll fail by less.
I wonder why they changed that.
I don't know. That's weird. But that's what threw me for a second there. I'm like, wait a minute, why would you get a plus for something that should be good? But that must be it, because they say here in active probes that it makes it easier to overcome the ghost ability. And that adding to the roll would make you fail by less. So if you've got a 15 you have to beat somehow, and you roll a 12, you can add 1 for your Beagle probe and 2 for your targeting computer, and you've matched it.
Right.
So there you go. Anyway.
Right. Okay.
Now that I've fixed that one, it's all good. You need a double tap thing, Pillar.
Using a device to record them this way.
Yeah, and it's Pillar's phone, and she doesn't have double tap to open her screen lock. Anyway, that's a good half hour of us dribbling crap about ECMs and ECCMs, so I think we should probably call it there. Eh?
Yeah. Thanks for finding that one, mate. I did enjoy that. That's really good, and there's even more you can do with ECM.
I've got a bunch.
Scenario. Wow.
Yeah, and you can work electronica into your scenarios fairly easily and just have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the stealth armor and Beagle probes and all that sort of stuff, you can like mesh them all together and try and work something out there.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Anywho, that was ECM Suite Optional Rules, and you guys stay groovy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.